Gotta give the jingle a little second to play out there. I bring us in. So, Gratcast 105, getting started here. Got a much lovelier version of John in today.
That's very sweet of you. I think John's just fine the way he is.
Well, John succumbed to the man today, and he had to work. Apparently, there's only one man in the bullpen at his job's rotation, and they were down a man today, so he had no choice but to go in and fill in. So you're filling in for him.
I don't mind filling it at all. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much. One question. John works for a big largely owned chain of hotels, right? Like
I don't know if it's a
big
chain or not, but
corporation
it's a
owns
nice,
multiple hotels and
nice hotel and restaurant.
And they don't have anyone extra on deck.
Well, we've talked about that a couple times, John and I. For whatever reason, he's a part-time employee, and he works 6 days a week and has a hard time getting off Mondays as a part-time employee because they just won't have enough people in their rotation. But the disappointing fact of not having John here this week is it's a rare good week for the Bills and the Lions. The Bills pulled off an epic historical upset of the Vikings, and the Lions won. And not only did the Lions win, but they beat the Patriots. This could have been a great day for John and I to be Lions and Bills fans. And instead you're here and you don't give a rat's ass about either one of those things.
I like to think I'm like half of your audience. Half of the people like sports and care. The other half are here because of the entertainment industry, business, all your take on current events and stuff.
I think 3 out of 4 people care about sports. You're the 4th.
I'll give you 2 out of 4 people care about the sports.
Oh, get out of here. 2 out of 4 people wear sports paraphernalia on a daily basis. 3 out of 4 like sports.
If we're going by actual population, I think 1.75 out of 4 people actually care about sports, and the rest want to just talk about other stuff.
When's the last time 80,000 people showed up to a science experiment? Steal a line from the program there for the old school cats. No?
Seriously? Science is awesome.
All right. Well, I've tried to talk as much football as I can talk with you.
Congratulations to the Bills. Yay, Bills. They won a game.
Yay, Bills. Okay, let's talk about the important thing that happened today, dear. How was your day?
My day was terrifying. Is the nicest way to say it.
What happened?
I'm scared of snakes. Have been my whole life. Like, even gardener snakes. Doesn't matter the tiniest. Nope. So, sitting here on the couch, Chris is doing his work over here, I'm over here, our dog is over on this part of the couch.
There's been a lot of foreshadowing that we're ultimately going to run into a snake sometime soon. It's been on the local neighborhood Facebook page, there's been warnings, it was coming.
There's been warnings since we looked at this place. Everyone says, oh yeah, one of the things that might happen out here is snakes come out when it's really hot and dry.
Not just snakes.
Coyotes,
Rattlesnakes.
Raccoons. Yeah. So we're sitting here and we have a sliding glass door in front of us right behind your camera.
We were on this very couch right here. I was here, she was there.
Right here, both on our own things, in mid-conversation with people on our lovely Discord server. Hello, everyone. And trying to find out about Snake's tooth, which hopefully is taken out and all feeling better.
Right behind the camera is the sliding glass door.
Which we have the floor, ceiling to floor curtains that are blocking out the sun so it doesn't get, super hot in here. And we have not exactly a screen, but one of those, shown on TV kind of stapled up, but it has a magnet, in the top, middle, and bottom to hold it together, but you can walk through. It's lovely in theory, except that
it keeps 3 out of 4 flies out.
The shade closed, the door open, but the screen kind of shut, and
all
dog is sleeping right here. We're watching Jeopardy on Hulu now because that's on, and Ken Jennings is awesome.
Relevancy.
And so all of a sudden I hear over the noise of Jeopardy signaling in. It's not on the ground going. It is up. One of those, yeah.
What's going on in here, guys?
Out, a good 6 inches up, curled a couple times, and just comes around.
Pissed off, rattling.
Goes past where our dog has his food bowls, and then slithers behind the big bag, like 30-some pound bag of dog food, and just... Yeah. Our dog, luckily, Bear heard me go, holy shit. And yeah, I said it because it's worth it. When you see it on TV and then you see it in real life, and that's not okay.
He just came right in, angry and upset with
there was noise in here. The TV was on. Like, he heard voices. Why was he coming to where he knew people
Normally,
were?
that's right where Bear lays down, is right by the door as well when it's open. Or I go in and out all the time, barefoot, never thinking twice about it.
So it goes and over behind the dog food pile, and I actually called a Bear, and he listens for once, which is awesome, and comes over, and he's kind of hiding behind me, and Chris calls the landlord, then he calls the fire department, because
who do you call?
We're up in the middle of nowhere, Canyonville, but we are incredibly lucky that by being right on the edge of the National Forest, we have a fire department literally less than a football field away, like literally from one end to the other.
Yeah, maybe 2 football fields.
I couldn't. If you don't count the hills going like that for the distance, just the straight track birds fly over. Anyway, so
Uncle Rico could throw a ball that far.
Chris calls the fire department. They say, all right, we're coming, but just make sure you call 911. And so in the meantime, I call the person who is the head of the board, the association. It's pretty much out of the villagers that live up here. We have a group that makes sure we all kind of know how we take care of stuff so we don't burn each other all down. That's pretty much what it is. We all live in our own little, like, Sherwood Forest. And if one person has a problem, it affects all. So you call the leader who knows about all the crap and all the secret tricks. And I said, is there something else we're supposed to do? Because apparently if we call the cops, they won't come. We have to call the county sheriff to come up here, even if the cops are right down the hill. So I wanted to make sure we're doing the right thing. And yay for her. She said Chris is doing it exactly right.
I got blind transferred on 911. I don't even know if I told you that. So I called the fire department, and they're like, okay, we'll send a guy over, which is like right down the block. So he's like, but call 911, and then they got to fill out a ticket that they'll send over to us to make all this on the up and up. And I'm like, all right. So I called 911, and this lady answers. She had an attitude right off the get-go. Yeah, I'm like, fireman told me to call 911. We're trapped on our couch. There's a rattlesnake in the house. She's like, this is 911. Is there anybody hurt or injured? I'm like, no, we're just held hostage by a rattlesnake right now. And she's like, okay, we'll call the fire department. I'm like, I did. They told me to call you. And she's like, well, what do you want us to do? I'm like, I don't know. They said you got to file a ticket or something like that. She's like, no, sir, we don't file tickets. I'm like, okay. She's like, well, hold on a second. And then she just blind transfers me to the fire dispatch. And then they had no idea what I was calling for. I'm like, I don't know. Fireman told me to call 911. 911 person blind transferred me on you. I hate customer service. If I told anybody this. And round and round we went.
You do have the worst luck with customer service.
Luckily, by this time we heard the fire truck, and they were arriving.
Oh, yeah. The confused fire department guy you got sent to. Oh, that must have been when, because I'm like, I hear the fire truck. It's coming. It's coming. Yay. As we're pinning Bear down so he doesn't go and investigate the snake.
So
that's the big warning that everyone gives you, too. It's not so much about people. It's be careful. Your pets will get attacked by them, and they won't make it. The venom just does them in. That's never good. Never good.
So the firemen finally get here, and we're from the wrong generation because we deal with the situation before we think to grab our phones and start recording this stuff. So there was a whole bunch of sweet footage we could have got. Andrea tries to get some footage, but she ends up with this blurry UFO footage of like a thumb, which is supposed to be the snake's head, sticking out from behind the dog food bag. Impossible to discern what the hell we're looking at, so it didn't.
There is a snake there. There is, but unfortunately, I think I smudged up the camera as I was like trying to hold it and get it. I was just shaking.
I was all ready, locked and loaded. Had my camera up and ready for the money shot of the fireman coming in, scooping out the snake, holding him up in the air, and walking out with him. But then Bear lost his goddamn mind, just flipped the hell out, and 2 of us had to hold him down like a rabid dog. Had to hold him down while they dragged the snake out, and I lost all the golden footage. Didn't get any of it. And like these guys, there wasn't like 2 words spoken. They peeked their head in. Is this where the snake is? We're like, yeah, he's hiding behind the dog food. And the guy's like, oh, I see him. Boom, got him. And then like 3 of them all escorted the snake out, and they were in the truck and gone before we even got off the couch. Boom, problem resolved.
And And then we asked them if they could please shut the door behind them as they left with the snake. Like, as we're still cowering on the couches, and they're like, these just men just come in, yeah, where's the snake?
Whoa.
Oh.
Whoa.
Cowered on the couch.
No, I was holding my dog back.
I was holding the dog while you made phone calls over here.
That
so
dog
all
took
I'm saying
several people to
is,
hold back. He's crazy when he gets
the way
angry.
they're all walking around here, they came with like, it looked like literally just the fire department boots. Not even like steal anything where they're making sure it can't bite through. But they came with a shovel in that like hoop-de-hoop thing where at the end is kind of looped so they can get the snake to come around.
Bam! Got him. Out.
They had two things. He had a shovel that he put down, like leaned against the doorway, and then he had that scoopy thing and he lifted it. I'm like, it's over there behind the dog food. And he just moves the dog food like it's no big deal. I'm like, that thing's going to bite you. And he just, screw it. He goes, oh yeah, there
I thought it was going to try and run a little bit, and they were going to end up having to pull some stuff out, and this was going to be like a whole exercise.
Something needs to be unplugged. And,
I thought this was going to be a good 30-minute chase sequence of trying to narrow this thing in with 3 or 4 firemen and trapping this bad boy. But no, he just sat there and took it.
Bear, you are heavy breathing hard, dude.
All right, so we are currently waiting for our new commercials to get done. So imagine there's a commercial break here, which there will be in the near future.
Want to say thank you to someone? Bake them some brownies. That's our commercial.
Oh yeah.
I baked 2 batches of brownies, one normal traditional chocolate and one with salted caramel. For those who actually wanted an extra little bit of treat. Brought them over when they were still warm.
Canyon firemen get brownies.
Yes,
all right,
they do.
So we have an update on something John and I talked about last week, Andrea.
An update?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
The Sunspot Observatory that got shut down by the Blackhawks. The FBI came screaming in. I don't know if you remember hearing us talk about this last week. Okay. So there's been a rare update to the story.
Everyone thought something was passing the moon, and that's why it was shut down. That
well,
was
there
the
was rumors that
theories.
something went by the sun or
aliens
whatever.
were going by, and
but ultimately,
where
it was left at last week when we were talking about it, and the news that we went into the episode with was that there was some bad dude coming through, and they were all prepared and ready for this, and they didn't want to tell the people what was going on because they didn't want to tip them off. So they had to bring in the men in black, shut the whole place down. They didn't tell the local local police department and all of this. And the whole thing blew up into this big conspiracy theory because they wouldn't give anybody information. Okay? That's where it was left at last week. We've got an update this week. The update is that apparently this whole thing was for the janitor had been downloading child porn over the Wi-Fi signal at the observatory. Which, okay, but...
Downloading and then spreading?
He was
They're two different things. I'm not saying any is good at all.
The janitor was using the Sunspots internet to download his little personal cache of child porn.
Suspicious activity at the observatory.
Fine, let's get this scumbag. But we shut down the observatory for a week to get this guy? Was he hiding? Was he armed? Like, this doesn't make sense for the janitor that you could just show up with the local sheriff and arrest the dude and be done with it. So the answer to the situation raises more flags than it answers in any of this.
I read the article, the follow-up also, and the way I took it was a little differently. And maybe it's because I grew up watching Law and Order. Like Sam Waterstein, Law and Order. It kind of makes sense because what you don't want to do is tip it off.
I don't have that sound effect.
That's fine. Dun dun. But you don't want to tip off the perp.
Here's one for you. For the Vikings fans out there.
Anyway, but what you don't want to do is tip off the person. So if what they know is the internet itself, that one stream, not necessarily the MAC ID address for which computer, but they know which ISP address it's getting, it makes sense that if it's someone who's filtering in and out, that's something we're trying to crack down on for a very good reason, because it's freaking gross.
Yeah, but the whole way it was handled doesn't seem like they were getting the janitor.
But here's the thing. They didn't... Would you expect the janitor to be the one? Out of all the employees, they didn't want to tip off any employee.
I wouldn't expect a military response to get the janitor. They shut down the post office. Like, I don't understand... No. The excuse... This is like saying after, like, the newspaper says... that the military found flying saucers, and then the next day, wait a minute, they were just some weather balloons. That just creates more questions than anything else there, dear.
Okay, again, if they come in saying anyone who works here, we're going to be taking your personal computer and checking all your shit, anything about you, we're deep diving into it, we're freaking...
Sure.
We're WikiLeaksing you.
To bring the cyber nerds in.
People aren't going to come. They're going to go run away. They're going to go take their vacay time. They're going to call in sick. They're just going to freaking quit. And that's what they didn't want to have happen.
You raid the place like you normally do.
But who thinks of the janitor? Of course, that's the very last person they check on. They don't check on the lowest people. They think, who would be stupid enough? And nowadays, it's people in power. So they're going after everyone in power before they can run away on their private island.
Shut down the office to get the janitor.
Dude, that's why no one ever thinks of the janitor. And
everybody thinks of the janitor.
He just made a bad image for all janitors. I'm just saying, there are some hard-working people. We've all had to clean the floor a few times, and that guy ruined it for everyone. Because now he put
the
that
janitor must have been Casey Roback, because that's the only way you need Blackhawks to take out a lowly janitor. That's all I'm saying.
They didn't want to tip him off.
They didn't want to tip him off. That's why you show up with a big show of force in police cars, the local sheriff, all that. I don't know. It makes
but you do
no
get
sense.
How many, when they got the subpoena or the warrant, whatever, to raid his house, when they were able to actually convince a judge it was this one specific person, they took away 5 laptops, boxes full of hard drives, different phones, burner phones. That means this dude wasn't just downloading. He was a major source for this, which means he knows who was taping this, which means he knows the bad guys.
You still don't need
You don't
that
let
much
that
force.
guy get away. You make him cry and give up names. You make him give up ISP. You use those computers and all those phones. That was a big bad guy. He might have a lowly job, but there's a reason he did, because he didn't want anyone to find him because he's doing bad things.
Doesn't match.
He's a bad guy.
The answer for the response doesn't match the response that
I don't know. If your kid was stolen and taken and put into slavery and they were making tapes about him and this guy's selling it and he's the only way you can get to him, I say Black Hawk the motherfucker.
They've raided actual
I didn't finish the word, just so everyone knows.
Like human trafficking camps with less force than Black Hawks and all of this. You find out after the fact. Oh, we went and arrested so-and-so and so.
And this one guy could know where 20 of those human trafficking camps are. He could be the buddy of the leader. That's kind of what they don't know. So they're not making a mistake and letting him get away. They're not letting anyone who might know about it get away.
It's not the point. The point of the matter is it's not the same way that these things are handled. Like you find out in the newspaper, oh, we went and raided this place, arrested all these different people for all these horrible activities, saved a bunch of people that were being sex trafficked. You know, well, we shut this place down for a week, and all this. We weren't even telling the local sheriff. So again, child pornography.
Local sheriff could have been in on it.
Obviously,
he's allowing it to happen in his city. This dude lives there. He might know him if it's a small enough town. Dude probably had a beer with him once.
Let's not get ridiculous.
You don't let people have their own personal bias and trying to cover up for their buddies, or the buddy and someone's been married to someone, and even though I hate them, oh well.
Moving on, I hope that you've read up on this next subject, because I didn't get a chance to hear about it at all. So I'm looking forward to you telling me all about it, dear. Yes. Senate passes Music Modernization Act.
Yes.
What happened here?
Okay, so there's a couple different parts, and the biggest part that I got is there's music that has been made before 1972 that places like Pandora, Sirius, iHeartRadio, larger companies that offer digital music to be able to listen to over mobile devices have not been paying the royalties to the companies. And the royalties that they have, they've found little excuses to make it so that it isn't actually playing the music for profit, even though they are playing those artists' music. So one of the things that came about that has passed in the House and is now on to the Senate, and if the Senate approves it, it goes to the president to sign. And after that, then what will happen is 50% of the royalties that are paid to all the music distribution companies that 50% of all that money for songs played before 1972 will actually go to the artists and song makers of those songs, which has not been happening. And right now they have to pay back something like $250 million or up to $300 million in back-owed royalties.
Oh boy.
So 50% of that gets to go to artists. Skippity-doo-dah! And there's another part of it that I am missing, and one part was never explained, and another part I'm kind of missing, and I'm sure Jesse's going to give us a talking to for not quite understanding all of it. But a lot of it goes into royalties. I think the other part is mainly about royalties. So that's what it is. Artists are getting paid for their work. People can't just use it because a certain amount of time has gone by. Yay.
Alright, well, I'm going to throw a sound effect for that. I'm not sure what it does, but let's see. Ooh. Did the fan kick on?
I think that's our fridge.
Okay. We've got a loud fridge then. That wasn't loud.
We have a big
little bit
fridge.
ago.
Yeah, it just kicked on to let everything stay cold.
I'm going to edit this part out, and moving on from the Senate passes Music Modernization Act, we're going to Vietnam Bachelorette. Was it The Bachelor or The Bachelorette Vietnam?
The Bachelor. Vietnam, The Bachelor.
Andrea has a reality show, well,
No.
a TV series set around
now
a
you
fake
confused
reality
everyone.
show.
You guys, you may seem like I watch Vietnam, The Bachelor, which I don't watch any of them actually.
I was gonna bring it all around. So Andrea watches this TV show, or did, because we burned through all the episodes, called Unreal, that is based around one of these The Bachelor type show scenarios and all of that. And it's like over the top, behind the scenes, fictional stuff following one of these The Bachelor type shows. And apparently the Vietnam actual The Bachelor show had a crazy, absurd scenario that played out in Unreal. Is that about how it went?
Nope. Wow. Okie dokie. So, the TV show that Chris and I binge-watched through is called Unreal, and although it is about a show, it's about the production of a show similar to The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. And it takes place on the production side. So the producers, all the production assistants, the people who wrangle all of the contestants and the main bachelor and make sure there's drama going on and the cameras know where to go, and then they edit it all different ways, and they literally go and they talk to people. It's not so much manipulating, it's they talk to them as if there's a different point of view you could look at, and maybe you could act according to that, but if you're cool with how you want, and it's like a junior high way of making people twist around your own finger and just meddling. But it's a fictional show, and so one of our people, Jesse, found a clip of a real show called Vietnam The Bachelor. So it's obviously The Bachelor taking place in Vietnam. And what happened in the real show is one girl was given a rose, and she goes back and joins everyone else. A second girl comes up, and the bachelor offers her a rose to stick around, and she declines very politely and says that she did come to the show to find love, but she did not find love with him. Instead, she found it with, turns around and walks back to one of the girls who had already accepted a rose and told her to please come home with her. Oh, the other girls, like, they had the pan of all the other girls, and they're all tearing up. Like, they must have all known. It must have just been a thing where everyone knew, and the guy had no idea. Because, as Unreal will tell you, the guy is literally kept away from them as much as possible. Unless you're on camera for the reason of we need some footage, they keep the guy far, far away, so he doesn't actually know what the girls are like without them being manipulated. And obviously, this is happening very well in Vietnam, and they're keeping them strict because the guy lets the one girl go, who obviously wants the other lady. The other lady comes down and says, you know, I appreciate you, you've made me feel very special, I hope you find love, I hope there's someone who can take care of you, and someone who will see you from across a room and know how you're feeling. She's incredibly sincere. It sounds like she might have had interest, but she obviously is interested in this other girl, so maybe she was feeling it that way and just projecting onto him. Or maybe the other way around. They don't quite explain very well. He says he hopes she doesn't regret it. He wants her to think about it.
Do we know
he
if this
sounds nice at the beginning, and then he finishes up with, I believe you will regret this if you continue on with this decision.
Do we know if this was North Korea, The Bachelor, or...
It's Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, that was Korea.
It's Vietnam.
My bad.
So, Anywho.
Isn't there a North and South Vietnam too? No? Just one Vietnam?
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Chris never played that game.
I know where the crickets button is.
Never played that game before, huh? So, anyway.
Oh, dude, I used to crush that game.
After he tries to...
All I needed to know was the dollar amount. You give me the foreign currency and I knew right where that bitch was.
After he tries to sound supportive of her idea, and then finishing it up with just that nice little twist of, but if you make this decision and continue on, you will regret this. Just so perfect. She still gives back the rose, and what they don't show, but they say in the article continuing on, is as she leaves and is ready to leave with the other girl, she turns around, comes back to the dude, and takes the rose. Yes, not the original girl who said no, but the one who gave the rose back afterwards.
Oh.
Which I believe Unreal played very well because some production assistant
get back out there and take that damn rose.
Worked her magic on that. Are you sure this is not, while she's still packing up her bag, you can change your mind. This is her decision, not yours. You felt pressured.
It's not your fault.
Don't you want the $1 million we give you if you get
There's
chosen?
no way Vietnam's giving $1 million.
Whatever, they're giving him a house, they're giving him whatever the equivalent in Vietnam is of something awesome. Yeah.
It's not $1 million.
It could be $1 million.
Okay.
Oh.
So,
Sorry, everyone. So that was Bachelor Vietnam.
Bachelor Vietnam.
I failed.
Do we know which day of week this is on and where we can watch it?
No idea whatsoever. It didn't
Sounds
say
like
that
it's
in
going
the
to be
article at all.
exciting final finish that they're finding. They're getting American press now. It's so good. All right. So, esports backlash at the soccer matches. Somebody wasn't happy about an esports partnership. Tell me more about what happened here, Andrea.
There was an esports protest at the Swiss Football League where...
We're not having it.
Oh, not at all. There was Basel versus the Young Burn Boys, and it's B-E-R-N, not B-U-R-N. And so those are the two leagues. Apparently Basel is starting to get B-A-S-E-L.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that is how it's spelled. In the Swiss leagues, either way, you guys might want to know. It might be interested in seeing it. Either way, apparently the B name team has started looking into franchising up with esports and getting on FIFA.
Sounds like a good idea. Expand the brand a little bit here.
Except the backlash of the fans don't want to have to pay extra. They know that once they franchise up, costs go up and their games suddenly suck a little more. So how did they protest? Planned protest.
It's a pretty out there
tennis
unified
balls
conclusion to come
and
to.
remote controls all over the field.
And was there any information on what kind of controllers these were?
They look like...
Were they retro controllers?
No, they look like your PS4...
The 50s...
That's what the article was even saying. The smart people who were protesting brought the tennis balls because they saved themselves so much money.
First of all,
so much money.
How did I know I was supposed to bring my controller to this event and piss it away into throwing it onto the field? Second of all,
organized.
Is it just people, or should I say blokes with broken controllers, or are we throwing our good controllers there, and now I'm spiting myself and can't play my games anymore because I threw my controller at the $1 million athletes because the $1 billion owners partnered with an esports company?
Well, they don't want outrageous. Part of having to partner and get the franchises, they actually have to pay esports. And the franchise does... The actual team, the cities that pay for it and buy the tickets, would rather them buy to get better players, to improve the actual physical team, instead of, hey, I want to be included in the digital world. You know what else you're going to have to buy? A new
controller now.
Well, not like the smart ones who got the tennis balls.
Like the amount of extra money it's going to cost you because they made that esports partnership is going to be lost in having to buy a controller.
Maybe those are the people who aren't going to play anymore. Maybe that's why they're saying, you know what? I'm not playing esports. I don't want to play esports. It made me want to throw away my whole game console. That's how upset it makes me.
I don't understand how that many people knew to bring their controllers. That hell, we're bringing controllers down come this Saturday.
Controllers and tennis balls, baby. And there was a giant banner that was pulled out that had the big pause button. Oh, it was sweet. It was so sweet. Chris, you're going to put up the link to the little video so everyone can... It was very cool, but it took over 2.5 minutes for them to clear the field of all the crap on there. It's pretty sweet. I like it. And they didn't hurt anyone. No one got hurt. I think it was like actually at a break time.
Just
anyway,
raining broken controllers. That doesn't sound safe.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It was a good protest. I like it. It was a nice way of telling esports to stop messing it up. And don't you hate esports anyway? Don't they mess up like Madden all the time?
That's EA Sports.
How is that different?
Esports is an activity. EA Sports is a corrupt evil corporation.
Or are they not part of esports?
No. Esports is an activity.
Electronic sports.
Just like sports is an activity.
And these people are mad at FIFA. And isn't FIFA one made by EA Sports?
You wouldn't get
isn't it an issue in general?
So
with the electronic
Riddle makes
sports
football. World? They make footballs and they make football equipment. You wouldn't get angry at Riddle or you wouldn't get angry at sports in general because Riddle made bad shit. No. Yeah.
My example makes sense. I think you all believe
EA Sports
is
a game development company. Esports is an activity.
And what companies provide the equipment?
Holy cow.
What are the main companies that provide the games for that activity?
All sorts of different companies.
Okay, so if I want to play a board game, we have like Hasbro and like 2 other ones that'll give that. So if I want to play a video game that is a sports-based one, what companies are going to be getting my money?
Anyone that has a game.
The same ones that you hate too. So why are you acting like they're all suddenly, they're okie dokie, when all they're doing is stealing your money and raising the prices of tickets and everything?
No, they're completely different. There's a whole lot of things being blurred together here. Esports is the art of playing competitive video games against other people. EA Sports makes games based around real sports like soccer, football, hockey, and they're not very good at it. So that's the difference between the two. So let's move this on to our Discord questions. And I've got nothing here for the Discord questions.
I've got a couple.
We're going to go with the Discord questions.
So we've got a couple here today. So who would we like to hear from today? We've got 4 people.
Hit me.
We have... Alright, we're going to start with Samantha.
What do you got, Sam?
Sammy wants to know, what movie was it that made you want to make movies?
This is for you, Sam. So, there's probably 2 answers to this question. The movie that, like, first really, like, sank into my bones was probably Snatch. Like, there was many others before all of that, but, like, there was one summer where every single night I fell asleep watching Snatch, knew it inside and out, knew every shot, knew every line of dialogue, and I don't know, there was just something about, it was almost like a perfect movie to me in a lot of ways. But, Kevin Smith and Clerks is probably the movie that made me believe I could make movies. The insult to every filmmaker was that if that guy can do it, I can do it. And Clerks was the one that made me believe if that guy can make a movie, I can make a movie, and that kind of came from there. So Clerks inspired me. Snatch is the type of movie I strive to make.
All right.
Yes.
So, I don't know if anyone remembers this movie, but this was the movie that I absolutely adored, apparently addicted to, very addicted to. Ooh, so much so that my mom even got me something that in a second I'm going to go grab and show you guys, because it just occurred to me. There was a movie, and it's involved in a toy also from the early 80s called Hug-a-Bunches. Does anyone remember those? They're like Garbage Patch Dolls and Cabbage Patch Dolls. Garbage Patch, those were the Garbage Patch Kids. But anyway, so they're like that, but they're different because they're soft and they're just different. Anyway, they had a movie.
Huggable?
They're Hug-a-Bunches. Anyway, so there was a movie made by Jim Henson, I think it was, and it had a girl that goes through a mirror and kind of like an Alice in Wonderland thing, but better because she's in with all the Hug-a-Bunches and she's in their land and there's a peach tree that's magical. and there's like a book world, and it's awesome. It's kind of like Neverending Story, but before Neverending Story. So it was sweet! And loved it. Like, we had to go and rent that all the frickin' time. And now I can't find it anywhere. Okie dokie.
Best I got for sweet is ding.
Yeah. Sweet! Anyway, so that was the movie that made me actually want to make movies, because I believed that when you made the movie, you actually got to live what you made. Like, this little girl who was the actress got to go through an actual mirror, and all the puppets, although they were puppets, they didn't look like it on the screen. Like, they did a freaking awesome job. Awesome job. You couldn't see the people.
Good job, Jim Henson.
Incredible
you got a real career in puppets.
You completely made me believe that that's, when you act, that's what you get to do, is you're living it. And that won over. And then, of course, there was the Neverending Story, which just reinforced it a little bit more, because if you're young enough like I was, that's
These guys aren't as huggable, but it's still a good story.
This stuff is happening. You get to really do it. Those would be the movies that made me want to start in making movies. And, you know, the reality of it is all something you learn a little bit later. But the getting to act and starting to do it was really fun. So that would be the movies that made me want to make movies. Hug-a-bunches. But here, Chris, you get on with the next question. Here, pick one of those, and you get to start. You're going to go with Misery and Mayhem's next one. I'm going to grab this one thing.
Are you telling me I got to ask myself my own question? Like, you could have asked the question before you left, and then while I was answering the question, just Vontae Davis to me and bounced. But instead, I got to ask myself my own question.
Okay, whatever, dude. Bitchy bitch move. Okay, so this thing, look. Do you see it?
Wow.
This was the Hug-a-Bunch.
What about for the podcast folks that are going to be listening to this?
But it's Hug-a-Bunch. You guys can see this on the Facebook video. So, yeah, at this time it is, you know, about a half hour in, if Chris doesn't edit all of me out. So
there's going to be nothing left.
Just so y'all know, this should be about a half hour in. Half hour in. Chris going to edit this. Half hour in. Hug-a-Bunches, and you can find that. Huggabunch. Hug-a-bunches.
What's the next question?
Hug-a-bunches. Hallmark cards.
We don't need the back. We don't need to read the back. Let's stay on show.
Hug-a-bunches are awesome. Okay, next question. Woo woo, Misery. Misery and Mayhem would like to know, with the seasons about to change, what are your favorite things to do in the fall? Any special traditions?
Well, a favorite of mine back in the Buffalo days was shorts and hoodie weather. It is a rare parallel universe where you can be comfortable wearing shorts and a hoodie at the same time. Fires are always good. Sitting around having a drink. Well, I guess now that I live in a canyon, fires are not always good. But contained fires are always good. Sports, football season, fall. East Coast fall is probably the biggest thing you miss not being on the East Coast anymore. East Coast fall bear. Yeah.
He has no idea what you're talking about. Smart dog, smart dog. So, my favorite thing to do in the fall is starting to bake. Because it's finally not 100 degrees out, so if I turn the oven on, Chris doesn't freak out at me that I'm just making it hotter inside. So I can start doing pies, and I can do breads again. Made brownies today. It made it. Haha, wasn't too hot in here, so that's officially means that we can have the oven on for about a good 30-40 minutes without him complaining. It's baking time, people. Yeah. Alright, next question. Kels would like to know, what did you do before this? And how did you get by?
Well, if you're a regular watcher of the Gratcast, which only up to 3 or 4 of you could potentially be, the Memorial Day episode of Gratcast, me and John did a walk down memory lane and went over all of the odd jobs that we did over the years and how we got here and what we did before all of this. But
some heavy breathing there, Bear.
Basically, I floated from dead-end job to dead-end job looking for my purpose in life until I was lucky enough to find it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Sounds kind of like everyone else's story, though, isn't it? You did a job that helped pay the bills for a while.
We've all got stories.
think everyone's done we've all been babysitters. We've all been waiters at some point. We've all worked for a business behind a desk at some point. We've done the responsible thing, and then it made you miserable, so you had to leave, or else you were
There's a lot of stereotyping going on here.
Isn't that what you've done? You worked in the office. You worked for food industry before.
Well, I mean,
you did babysitting. You even bragged about that
by
one.
By saying we all, you're
Isn't
you're
this pretty much what everyone has done from the point you were a teenager and allowed to start earning income because your parents wouldn't give you an allowance?
Hey, if you want to stereotype and use terms like we all, then it's up to you.
Yes, I want to include everyone. I don't want to stereotype, but I want to be inclusive. I include everyone in my world because we're all the same. Well, my insides look the same as your insides, so we're all the same.
Are we sure?
I think there's a little bit of your area that's a little different than mine, but besides that...
I think there's genders for now.
Yep, there are genders. Good call, dear. Good call. All right.
What else we got? We need better questions. Or maybe better question askers. I'm drowning here. This is a crash and burn episode.
Emily would like to know, what is the greatest gift you've ever received, whether it be for a birthday, a Christmas, or anything?
Honest answer to this question: the greatest gift I ever received was by. I wish I could remember the gentleman's name. He had a quirky name. This older gentleman that used to be a writer and all of that reviewed 10 pages of my writing years ago, and he tore it to shreds. Just this is bad. It's bad. You don't need this. Cross this down. And it just redlined the whole thing all over the place and talked to me for a good hour, 2 hours at a coffee shop about the writing, about rookie mistakes, about just all sorts of different stuff associated with the first 10 pages and all of that. And it was the first real eye-opening experience of how far away I was, how much I wasn't ready, how I didn't even know what a finished script looked like. And it was information I could have won a lifetime and possibly never learned if somebody didn't just sit me down and in front of me, scribble this out, cross that out, da-da-da-da. And it was all things that could be applied to your writing going forward and just made it all stronger. And I'm forever grateful that experience happened, because without that, my writing would still be atrocious. I'd never know.
That's awesome. Hey, wisdom is worth $1 million. And nicely he shared his with you.
Maybe hundreds of times that someday.
Fingers crossed. So when I was 9, my mom got me tickets to go see New Kids on the Block in concert. That was like the super coolest gift ever.
NKO TV is the greatest gift you've ever gotten? Wow.
Pretty freaking cool. Because they were like, Joey.
This does not reflect well on me.
You play video games and talk about sports all the time. I think it's okay that when I was 9, I thought New Kids on the Block were pretty cool because, they were back then.
As your significant other, if the greatest gift you've ever received is a concert ticket at 9 years old, that does not reflect well on me, dear. I'm going to have to...
Okay, well, the greatest gift you ever got was a coffee date with a really old dude who told you how much you suck, so...
Hey, was Donnie spitting wisdom? Good? Donnie wasn't spitting wisdom at you. He was spitting freaking cliche love songs that were secretly to another guy. So, no, yeah, I'll take the crusty old guy that gave me some hard truths. Hit me with the freaking reality stick over that. I was simply saying that I got to get you a better gift here soon to supersede a gift from that long ago. I was challenging myself to provide you with a gift that would give you a better answer to such a question.
We're not going to argue about this. I would like this in the comments. I'm asking everyone who's listening to this now, even if it's later on, you're just listening. Did that sound like Chris was challenging himself to rise to the occasion to give me a better gift than...
Yeah.
Or did that just sound like Chris was taking it that I insulted his ass?
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
When I said it reflects poorly on me.
Absolutely. Pause. No.
When I said it reflects poorly on me, means I got to give better gifts if there's none that are memorable enough to beat 9-year-old concert tickets.
I was 9 New Kids on the Block rule. I had their curtains, I had their bed, I had their books, I had their playing cards. I actually had the dolls, and I don't like dolls. I popped the heads off my sister's Barbies. That's how much I don't like dolls. But I had the New Kids on the Block freaking dolls, and they were awesome with the stage.
Yeah, you're getting it all. Getting the sad trombone,
Dude,
the Nelson,
I don't care.
The
care.
Viking horn.
You wanted to talk about football.
Okay, do we
I
have?
can think the new kids are.
Do we have any more Discord questions?
Yes.
And if you want to join the Discord questions, we've got pinned messages on Twitter and on the Facebook page with a link to the Discord channel. You can jump in. Andrea's the host. You can mingle and mangle with Andrea every single day and climb the ranks of our engagement and earn all sorts of rewards.
Become brand
and prizes.
ambassador.
Yes.
Hit me up on a direct message on our server. I'll send you the paperwork and let you know the details. So, we got another question by Emily, and she would like to know, who was our best president, and why was he the best? You're the best around. Nothing's ever
I'm
gonna
not
keep you
going to
down.
say I'm overly informed on the...
Overly informed?
Yeah, I'm not overly informed on the...
But you are informed.
Not even informed, let alone overly informed, of the just another guys that ran from, say, Lincoln up until FDR. All those guys, I couldn't name 2 of them, let alone what they did or what they stood for. So I'm going to go with the cliche JFK simply because he was one of the ones to be outspoken and tell you things you probably... Clearly, people didn't want him telling us, and tried to do the right thing for the general public rather than his political career and his buddies. So, I mean, he still plenty of his
JFK, but
buddies.
on the not trying to do things for his buddies,
Well,
didn't he elect his brother to be Attorney General? Like, nepotism much?
Was his brother not trying to do the
have
right thing, too?
I'm just saying, as much as we think he's
just because
kind
it's
of
your brother doesn't mean they're not the best person for the job sometimes.
could be a little biased in how you're judging everyone or the
You
other
could be.
candidate on there.
Or you know that you're building an army and you need some solid lieutenants that have been raised the same as you to lead this army.
I'm just saying, hiring your family in the government because they're, let's just say family members shouldn't be working in the government next to you. That's all. It's a little like ganging up on people. You guys have your own little secret language, you have your own looks, you know how to, we've done this to family members forever, we'll get it all happening.
R2 says nepotism is the only way to achieve loyalty.
Who says that?
R2 said it.
R2D2?
Yeah. You didn't want headphones, dear. I gotta tell you what the sound effect people are saying. So that's all I can do for you, is interpret what R2 said.
That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing wrong with family, but really?
I don't think you really want me to interpret what he just said.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the best president being FDR, mainly because after the war kind of, because after he dealt with not only the war, but then the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, all at within the same, of his time.
It's not like he was out there holding the blanket up against the Dust Bowl.
It was like he got the banks to split up so that you couldn't take the farmers' money for the big boys to play money with, which unfortunately another president has already allowed that to be reversed, which is absolutely ridiculous.
We're getting a peek
But we
inside
also
the Iowa
had
curriculum.
money going behind making new roads, which is creating jobs, which was actually building stability, which also we created windbreaks so that we couldn't have a dust bowl again. Part of making our environment better, making new parks, national parks, giving America a little bit more jobs and trying to find more resources and creating jobs and putting more money behind entrepreneurs.
Shame.
Does John interrupt you?
Yes. That's
rude! Rude! So rude. But apparently the reasons why FDR is awesome and was trying to give back to the government and the people, so that the states themselves and the people in all of the states could actually live and survive. Yeah, too bad. It only took 70 years for them to completely tear it all down and make sure that we're all living in terror right now, and everyone's just going to claim squatters' rights when the banks decide they're taking everyone's house back. Can't make me leave. I've been here longer than 3 days.
Dust Bowl 2,
My home.
the sequel.
There we go. That's global warming right there.
Do we have any more Discord questions?
There is one more, but are you sure you want me to... Okay.
Questions,
I'm sorry,
questions.
everybody. I'm going to keep on going here. Actually, there's a couple more.
Couple more?
Couple
Holy
more.
cow, we're running out of time
Okay.
now on what was supposed to be an abbreviated Gratcast.
I like this way more instead. Okie dokie. So we're going to the one that was open to everyone on the Discord because Emily wanted to include everyone on a chance on Friday to have some fun. If you could be any Marvel character based on the movies and not the comics, who would you be?
It's probably Tony Stark and Iron Man. Like, come on. Playboy and a superhero? Yes, please.
Is Wonder Woman Tony Stark? Is that
Wonder Woman's
Marvel?
a chick.
Yeah.
No, and she's DC.
She's DC.
Yeah.
I feel like they stole that. They're not Supergirl?
Supergirl's DC as well.
So all they have is the Black Widow, who is known for crushing men with her thighs and killing men
Well,
who love her while she tricks them.
They've got
Bad men. She's only attracted to bad men, and only
They've got
bad men
the
go after her.
X-Men ladies, but there's been licensing issues for the last decade that have kept them apart. But
X-Men is involved in that?
yeah, X-Men is a part of Marvel. But they sold it to Fox, and they had to bring the gang home. And long story short, you know how that goes.
I kind of feel like Marvel doesn't have any chicks then, do they? Did we just notice? Marvel is lacking on the female representation.
Shh! Don't look past Scarlett Johansson. Just focus on Scarlett.
I mean, even Iron Man's wife isn't around anymore. I believe they separated and they aren't even talking about it.
They had irreconcilable differences.
In the movie or in the comic? Or the actors on the set? What happened, everybody?
Is there any other questions?
Yes. If stranded on a desert island,
Oh boy.
who would you
Desert
want on the
questions
island
now.
with you? It can be a character, celebrity, whatever you want. It could be a character, it can be a made-up person.
This
And
is
why
a
then?
loaded question to have proposed next to your significant other. Number one, I can't say like a cool dude because that's a little weird that it's me and that guy on the island. And number two,
How about this? If it
I
couldn't
can't
be
say
me,
I can't say a hot chick because that's not cool to your significant other. So I plead the fifth on who I would take to the island with me.
really? That's kind of crappy, because take it this way. If you're on a desert island and you're assumed dead, you're kind of single. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, but
Malaysia 760 to, we all don't know where
if you
went.
tell me you'd rather
It's
take
been a
Bob
year.
to the desert island than me, my
It
feelings
sounds
are
like
gonna,
I don't really get
my
it. You
feelings
don't
are
get
gonna be
to...
hurt.
Really? How about if you can't choose me? How about if I died in the plane crash and you're still on the desert island, but if I come back, I'm all broken up and crap anyway, and you don't want to zombie me, so... How about any... Really? That's not cool.
I'm not falling for that.
That's not cool at all, man.
Not falling for that.
Alright, well, I choose Anthony Hopkins because he's freaking cool. And I think he'd be awesome to talk to. Just to hear... I like the way he talks. I like his accent. He can pretty much say anything and it won't sound weird. I feel just comforted. You know?
Nothing
Like,
says
not Silence of the
I've
Lambs
given up.
weird, just, you
I've
know.
given up. Like I want Anthony Hopkins with me on the desert island. Talk me to sleep as I fall
I
to
kind
my
of
death,
assume if I'm
Anthony.
on a desert island, I am dying very soon. So it'd be nice to just... Dude,
No.
there's no food. There's no one coming for you. You're on a desert
If I'm
island. That's why
dying-
they say
no,
if you're going to be stuck on a desert island...
If
you
I'm
bring
dying of
two things
malaria
with
or
you.
a gunshot wound and there's no way I could be possibly saved, then sure, maybe Anthony Hopkins. Fill me some
You can have
stories
Morgan
on it.
Freeman if his voice is a little more soothing for you. Very March of the Penguins.
who wants a narrator for their final days on a desert island?
He's an interesting dude. I would be interested in...
John, we need more sound effects on this sound effects board. I'm blowing through all of them with this crazy episode. Alright, are we ready for the bullet blitzes, or are there more questions in there?
I don't know. Are you going to answer the real answer?
Is there any more questions?
Nope.
Alright, moving on to our bullet blitzes, which I don't have the sound effect for. Okay, there's the bullet blitz sound effect.
That sounded like you were trying to get ready to spit.
Are you prepared to go first for the bullet blitz, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first so I remember the format, because I don't think I know your format.
Alright, so there was an article this week that a man got locked out of his house by the Nest home device thing that...
The thing that we have that runs the air conditioning?
Yeah, well, you can get those to control your locks, to control your lights, to control all of that stuff. And apparently
You could get hacked and your life could be crap.
the Nest decided that the Batman graphic on his t-shirt was an intruder trying to get into his house, and locked him out of the house with an intruder alert. My question is to you, after hearing a story like this, do you still fear the looming computer takeover uprising?
Yeah, that was actually my note while you were saying it. I think someone might have heard me say it. You're just asking yourself to get hacked and your whole life to be awful. Awful, I tell you. Why are you setting your house up on electronics that other people can hack into through your Wi-Fi?
How worried do we need to be about a computer takeover if it still can't determine the difference between a cartoon iron-on Batman and an actual intruder?
You know what's scary? Home invasion. You know how that happens?
Especially by
you
Batman.
Let people
Good thing
go
we've got
ahead
Nest
and
to protect us
secretly
from
get
Batman.
in quietly by being out in some freaking rape van in front of your house, and they just do on your Wi-Fi because they're within the range, and they can hack your code, then they turn everything off, and then they sneak in and they turn it back on so no one knows. So when you try and call for help, you can't.
If anything, your lock should have undone because Batman had arrived at your door. As soon as it recognized that it was Batman, the lock should have opened for him, as far as I'm concerned.
They forgot to program in who are the safe friends.
All right, dear. There, you're up.
Wait, did you answer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I have two of them.
Yes, but we're doing one at a time, so...
Which one would you like?
That's what you decide.
Would you like the left or the right one? I've got one on this side and one on this side. Which one do you want?
Well, always has to be the left.
Okie dokie. So on the left one, there have been some advances in 3D printing that are now coming into play with science and medical advancements.
This sounds like an item that should have been on the right hand.
No, because I got another even cooler one.
Oh,
so anyway, there is a dog that in Canada had a brain tumor and cancer that went into its skull. They 3D printed a new skull for it, and they were able to figure out how to dissect everything out and do all lasers. It took them weeks to plan out. It took 5 different doctors, almost 14 hours, but they were able to get all of the tumor out of the brain. When they said there was like literally a dome, they call it the little unicorn beforehand. So this poor dog...
Who's paying for this dog's Medicare?
This person apparently is very lucky that
this
the
person
university
has nothing else to do in this world?
No, this is all part of technology through the university in
Canada.
Canada.
It's an experimental test?
Yes, they're using 3D printing to try and make a skull, hoping that if it works in animals, it's something we can use because we don't have a lot of bone donors, especially ones that match up in the correct ways. So if someone has bone cancer on their skull and it's gone into your brain, they can't close it back up even if they could get your brain. So
are they hurting these dogs to build this, or are they finding dogs that are already hurt to test
There were dogs that were already hurt and already just about ready to go.
I get behind
that.
So
it was owners who had no choice, and the animals were at the absolute worst, but still somehow had the will to survive. So after the procedure of 14 hours, they got the part out of the brain. They had the new recreated 3D printed skull that fit perfectly with how everything had to be done. And now it just has a normal little scar right there. And they said within 30 minutes it was up and walking after all that. That's freaking amazing.
That is crazy.
So, my question to you, would you let yourself have a 3D limb if it was going to be underneath the skin?
Dude, if any part of my body's gone and you can give me any sort of technological replicant for it, even if it's a layman's version, I'm taking that over nothing.
Okay.
I'd totally be RoboCop if it was that or death. Whatever, keep me going.
You could be like Data. Or Data.
Data's 100% machine.
But he has the skin on top. You would just be like that too. Skin on top.
I would have
They
been
would
more
cover
with,
it
like,
up
Darth
with your own
Vader
skin.
or something like that. That started as a human rather than a full-on build from screws up android.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna go on to mine now, and the bullet blitz sound effect. And my question to you is: earlier today, you gave brownies to the firemen as a thank you for their service.
Yep.
My question is, what dish is your highest honor of thank you to make?
See, I bake. I don't cook. So doing the whole like food thing, if it's savory. Like
what is it?
lasagna, I guess, because it seems to take the longest to do. But if it's a dessert, there's this like 6-layer Italian ricotta cake, hazelnut cake that I made before. That takes 3 actual cakes that you have to cut in half, and then the different layers of the different frostings in the middle, which are awesome, and then the extra one on the outside where you have the chocolate curls and all the hazelnut slices. And
Okay,
yeah.
so if rattlesnake removal is brownie worthy, what does it take to get that cake?
that takes putting out a
Do
fire
they, like,
around
fight
the
a bear
house.
for you or something?
No, they gotta actually put out a fire near the house. Like, not, it doesn't even have to be on the property, but it has to be close enough for me to think, our house is about to get burned down, and all my crap
I
is
think
almost
that
gone.
already happened, and they didn't get their 3-layer cake.
They did that for everyone else. That wasn't just for us. It's gotta be just for us.
Okay.
Otherwise, the whole neighborhood has to pitch in, and that should have been a barbecue. Which would have been ironic
Should have been.
and hilarious at the same time to give them barbecue afterwards as a thank you. After half the place is still smoking.
All right, dear. The final bullet blitz of the evening. Hit me with it.
Alright, back into the medical advancements, because science and technology are awesome. And a lot of stuff is going on that people are not
They
paying
are
attention
until they're
to.
not.
Whatever. When it helps people, it's awesome. So, there is another new discovery of skeletal stem cells that are able to recreate, replicate, and naturally, I guess, create bones and cartilage and spongy bones. Which
Spongy bones.
I don't know exactly what part of your body spongy bones are for, but they are for something. And this was figured out not just from fetal stem cells, but in adults also, which means you could technically have them extract the cells from your own fat, and they can find the RNA to find the specific skeletal stem cells, because you have a bunch of them in your body, and they're figuring out how to be able to pinpoint which ones they are, and then they can start test tube making just the bones. It isn't a person, it's literally just the bone. You can tell it which bones you need, so therefore if you break your own bone, if you have cancer and you need to have bones taken out, you need replacements. You don't need to make a clone. You don't have to have the donor kid, which some people used to do in the 80s and early 90s, which is just... You can actually have your own cells so you don't have to look for donors. How awesome is that? We have finally caught on to what all the sci-fi stuff is saying. Yay, yay, yay.
Excellent.
Yes.
What is the question?
The question, because part of what they would have to do, the best way to do it is when you're little, for them to take them out of your femur bone. When you're still somewhat of a toddler and still growing at a rapid age. If you had children, knowing that this is an advancement that would help, because a lot of parents now also save the umbilical cord and some of the placenta, because there are cells in there that as your kid gets older, it can actually be used to help with later diseases and viruses and prevent a lot of things just by having access to that. And would you allow your kid to have something extracted from their actual femur bone?
If I've got the money for state-of-the-art technology stuff, absolutely. I'm doing all of these things that can be done.
Okay, I'm talking about the pain-wise, because, like, if they do, like, bone marrow transplant, which is pretty much what they're doing, they have to get all the way inside your bone and drill into it. That's a pretty serious thing. So would you be okay with your child being a toddler? If it's done
early enough and it's going to make them healthier over the long haul, absolutely. What about you?
I'd actually ask if there was a way that they could do it while it was still in womb.
That sounds like it would be pretty difficult.
Like when they do the amniocentesis, like when the mom is like at that 6-7 month part and her belly's super big, and they take that needle and they already go in, which looks like it should go out the other side because the needle's so big that honestly it should go out the other side or like out your back. That should be when they're taking a little bit of that. They just replace that little cap and just kind of poke and just take a little bit there so that you get the pure ones without anything that you could have done to mess it up.
Sounds great. Hopefully they can figure that out for us. I'm bringing Gratcast in for a landing here. Do you have any final thoughts on the episode before it's time for the most anticipated song of all time?
Miss you, John. Thanks everyone for giving us the feedback on Friday. We very much appreciate it. And if anyone wants to join our server, join the server. Send me a direct message. We try and give you the ally thumbs up right away so that you can actually talk to people. If you don't, still send me a direct message. That's Chris. He's, already doing his song. That's the way that works, isn't it? Stepping on me all night. Good night, all.